This is wild. I mean, it's one thing if you work for, I don't know, if you work for a big hedge fund in New York, you work for Steve Cohen, you're a star trader, and maybe I can think you can earn $100 million. How do you earn a $100 million bonus at Deutsche Bank in 2008?
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's a real reminder of the environment back then, the fact that we had the financial crisis, but people hadn't yet woken up to the various scandals that have then ensued, Libor and FX. I mean, the individual that's cited as earning $96 million in that year is one of the ones under investigation for the Libor scandal, which obviously hadn't taken off at that point. But it's just amazing, and I think, yeah, it's a real reminder of how long it actually took banks to wake up to the reality of what was happening.
So who's this guy who is, I mean, it sounds like sour grapes. Who is this guy who is suing because he only got a €4 million bonus? And what can you tell us about the merit of his case?
Absolutely. Well, this guy was actually on the money markets desk. He was fired back in April as one of the 7 individuals that the New York Department of Financial Services requested that Deutsche Bank got rid of when it settled Libor. And let's remind ourselves that was a record $2.5 billion settlement with agencies around the world. So he lost his job as a result of that settlement and is now claiming that there are certain bonuses he wasn't paid and should have been paid back in 2008 and 2009 in order to be commensurate with his colleagues at that time.
Is this still going on? When you take a step back and you think about the big regulatory crackdown, how effective has it been in reining in what we deem excessive compensation?
I think bonuses of this size are a thing of the past. From people we've spoken to in the industry, you wouldn't come up against something at Deutsche Bank now of that size, and those kinds of packages were very much part of deals that were agreed in bespoke contracts as well, that they would get a certain percentage of the profits that they made for the bank. I think those days are behind us. However, we have seen a certain amount of banks trying to get around this by raising salaries, so you're not necessarily giving these huge bonuses, but your salaries have suddenly increased a lot. So maybe the bonus equivalent doesn't seem so large, but yeah, you know, remunerative packages are still high.
Yes, but they are much more increasingly deferred compensation, and the actual cash bonus figure has certainly been reined in, or at least that's my understanding. Just one thing, because everybody gives us a lot of flack when we just knock bonuses outright, although it's hard to get your mind around a $100 million bonus. Any idea of how much money his group was actually bringing in, or how much his boss was making?
I don't know how much money his particular group was bringing in, but you're right. The individual who is cited as getting $96 million in 2008, that was deemed to be about 11% of what he'd bought in for the bank. So you could argue that relatively, you know, he'd been very profitable as a trader. However, looking back and putting that all into context and with what was going on with Libor, some of that profitability also is being called into question now.